Welcome to my podcast. Hold on, I'm going to turn this down just a little because it's kind of loud.
Down a little bit too.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, like, what's new? What's going on?
It's been a busy time. My husband is really busy, and I am in school right now studying international business.
Are you at UNC?
I'm at UNC Greensboro.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Wow. So you're doing like online classes?
Online classes. And I graduate in May.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so how long have you been doing this?
I started in the pandemic, and it's just kind of really slowly, just like 1 or 2 classes at a time. And even like one semester I didn't do any, and just really took my time. It was just something to do. We were all at home. And the kids were, they had their online classes. And so we just were all on online school, and it worked really well. And it's something that I kind of have always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to do. I've always been interested in business and entrepreneurship, and it feels sort of like just finally was the right time. Yeah. The kids are a little older and more independent, and so it's been really good. I'm enjoying it.
Nice. Yeah. Well, I have a lot of questions as far as like, what you're going to study and or like what you're going to do with international business and stuff. But before we get into all that, hi, welcome back. This is Life and Art with Nicole, and I'm your host, Nicole. This is a weekly podcast where we discuss different lifestyle topics such as books, acting, music, television, art, and a variety of other topics. And today I have my friend Katie here with me, and I'm super excited about this episode, so stay tuned. Yeah, okay, so business.
Yeah.
So, okay, international business.
International business.
That's so interesting because was your dad in international business?
Yeah, so he studied business and law and was a lawyer, a corporate lawyer. And his work was international because the company that he worked for was international.
Yeah, because he worked for Diageo,
Diageo,
right?
That's right.
And that's why you guys moved to London.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and so how is that? Because I mean, I knew obviously about it, and because you were there while we were in high school. So Katie and I went to high school together, and you moved to London for like a year in high school.
Yeah.
And then you came back all like British.
Yeah.
So like, how did that sort of like shape your like worldview on things, or
Yeah. So my dad had been commuting basically back and forth to London for a while, and then at some point when my brother graduated and went to college, my parents felt like we should just all be over there to support my dad and all be together. And so we made the decision to move going into my sophomore year in high school. And I was really nervous to go. I was having such a great time at our high school, and was feeling like, not wanting to leave my friends and, wanting to graduate with everybody there in Durham. But it also was an adventure. And my mom doesn't fly. I don't know if you know that.
I remember that. Yeah. Well, you guys took a boat for like a week or something.
We took a boat. And it was like 5 or 6 days on the boat. We brought our dog, all of our clothes, everything. And I got seasick.
Oh my goodness. Didn't your dog have to like quarantine for like 2 months?
I can't believe you remember that. Yeah. It was actually more like 4 or 5 months, I think, into quarantine. Yeah. Aww. Yeah. So that was hard. And, I think looking back, I wish that I had appreciated the experience a lot more. Yeah. I was sort of regret that I was like very immature at that time, and just was thinking about, I want to get my driver's license. I want to get, I want to be with my friends. And so but I did go to an American school there, and
I actually didn't know that.
Yeah. And so that made it easier to transfer all those credits to go to college back home.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it was a great experience. The people that I met were very worldly, and they were, on weekends they would like fly to Morocco, and, just like, it was people that I wasn't used to being around. And, but they were all, they were all used to traveling a lot and not ever staying in one place at one time. Mm-hmm. So it didn't feel like a high school experience in like a community. Everybody just kind of felt like in transition all the time. They were sort of like knew that they weren't going to be there long. And so people didn't really feel like working hard to make friends and put down roots.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, do you keep in touch with anyone from there?
I don't. I mean, at the time there was no like Instagram, Facebook, stuff like that. Yeah. So it was hard to, there was one girl that I kept in touch with for a little bit over email, but
yeah. Well, I mean, but that's still such a cool experience.
It was,
living in London, right?
Yep.
Because I remember when we had all gone.
Yeah, we all went.
Yeah. So we took a trip to London. Yeah. And we stayed in your parents' condo.
Yes, that's right.
In Canary Wharf.
In Canary Wharf. Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah. That was so much fun.
Yeah.
And
I feel really lucky that we got to do that.
I know.
And it's such a good memory.
Yeah, because we stayed there and then we took a day trip to Paris.
Yes.
And that was so fun.
That was amazing.
Do you remember? Because I wrote about this in my book. And by the way, Katie was my cover girl.
Yes.
Like, that's so funny to say that. Right. She was my cover girl on my book for like 10 years until I recently, changed, reformatted it and changed the cover and stuff like that. And kind of did some
it looks great,
different stuff. Thank you. Mm-hmm. But Katie was my cover girl for like 10 years. Yeah. And the photo that we took was in Paris.
Yes.
And I just, because this is like kind of when I was going through my photography phase. Yeah. And I was just like taking pictures, like dramatic pictures of birds, like eating bread on the ground or something, like really random stuff. But I remember you were like standing on the bridge and you were just like, I don't know, Pierce was off doing something, like looking at something. And my ex at the time, he was like over there somewhere, or maybe they were off together. And you were just like, leaned off and you just looked like you were just in like lost in thought, like some I'm just in Paris thinking about things. And I was like, ooh, and I just took this picture of you and I was like, this is amazing, Katie, will you be like, can I use this for my book? And that was it, and it was awesome. And but I remember that trip so much because do you remember when we got off the train in Paris and the guards, like the Parisian guards, like with the green berets had like AK-40 or like Berettas, and they were walking around at the Paris terminal with these huge guns, and I was that's just something that always stuck in my head, and I was this is my first experience of Paris, is like these soldiers walking around the train station with these huge guns.
I'm not sure what could have been going on, if that was normal or if there was something politically going on at the time. I'm not sure, but that was surprising. I also remember feeling like not super welcome at all of the places.
I thought that too.
I think we went to like one restaurant where the waitress wasn't super nice.
I do remember that.
And it could have just been where we went, but I felt like we didn't speak a lot of French, and I think that's the kind of town where people expect you to be at least trying.
Especially back then, because this was before. This was maybe been like Facebook was around, but it wasn't like what it is now. And Instagram didn't exist.
No.
And so it wasn't as very, very communal. Like I think Parisian people are just very like, they're very, very French, and you not speak the language. What are you doing here? You you don't know how to say bonjour. Totally. So it definitely had that. But I think maybe Paris is different now. I'd like to go. Have you been back?
No, I don't think I've been back since then.
Yeah, I'd like to go back and just kind of see how different it is, you know, because we were a lot younger. This is before you even had your kids.
Before the kids, yep. And speaking of the kids, Justice just went to Spain.
Oh my goodness! It's so fun.
Yeah.
So he did their where Spain, and where else did they go? Just Spain?
He did 3 days in Barcelona and 3 days in Madrid.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that's so. And that's the thing. Like that, my first international trip without my parents, obviously, was. We went to Greece and Italy.
Okay.
And that to me just like opened my world eyes, you know, and because I just got to see totally different cultures, and it just, And that's what I really like about and really appreciate about our high school is that they had trips like that. And they had those like excursions you could go on to give you that sort of worldly viewpoint, you know?
Absolutely.
And then obviously the school sort of caters to just expanding your way of thinking, you know?
Yes. Because I think it's so crucial.
Yeah, because I had this conversation with Samantha, who was my last guest, and because Samantha also went to high school with us. Yeah. And, you know, we were just saying how, like, we just loved the fact that our graduating class was small. We liked that, like, everyone was just, and Samantha said this, she's like, everyone, it felt like a big family, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's how I still feel about it, you know?
Yeah. It's great. And being there now as a parent, it is, it still feels that way. And it is, I just feel really lucky that the teachers are so dedicated. The families are super nice, you know, it's been a really good experience.
Aren't you on the board now?
I was on the alumni board. I've cycled off. The oldest person graduated in the 70s. And then there were people who had just graduated.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I wonder if other schools do that, like have an alumni board.
I think it is pretty common.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I should know. I get the little, like the newsletter. But yeah, but that's it.
Yeah.
But okay, so back to like, you know, international business and stuff like that. So like, was that inspired by your dad or like what made you want to go into that?
Yeah, I think it definitely was inspired by my dad. I think when I look back, I always, like, instead of playing with dolls, I would carry a briefcase around and like...
Stop.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I can see it.
Yes. And I would pretend like I would have a little office and I would steal my parents' office supplies and I would like set up my stuffed animals to be like my coworkers.
That's awesome.
Take the train into work.
I love that. That's amazing.
So it's something I obviously was inspired by my dad who would take his briefcase to work. And I just thought that was the greatest. I remember him taking me on like bring your daughter to work day. And just thinking it was amazing that he got to go up in the elevator and have this big office with all the windows. And
so cool.
Yeah. So that was definitely the foundation. And then also my brother has been a big inspiration.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that because he does a lot of investing. And
That's
stuff,
right. Yeah. And he's been really successful at that. So it just felt like the right time.
Yeah. So cool. So like, do you have an idea, like what you, like, are you going to go into type of angel investing, like what he does or no?
Probably not. So I might do a little bit of like small business investing. He does more like larger like tech companies and restaurants and that stuff. But I think I originally started with the idea to manage artists actually. As you know, my husband is a musician, my sister-in-law is a visual artist, and was inspired by their work and just seeing how for artists, sometimes they obviously want to focus on the creative and don't always have the skills or desire to focus on the business side of things.
Yes.
So it can be hard to, you know, sustain yourself financially as an artist. And to me, it seemed like there had to be an easier way. And there isn't a lot of research on that. So I was able to do a big project at school on helping artists, you know, sort of like a step-by-step on how to sustain yourself financially.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And that's such a needed thing in this industry. I mean, I'm sure Hollywood has their people, right?
Sure, yeah.
And I'm sure like high up in the music industry has their people, but for artists that are either local or just coming out or, you know, just starting out or it's a totally new territory. And I actually had this exact conversation with Samantha also.
Oh, okay.
We were talking about the fact that, you know, when you start your own business, for her, it was photography. And she's like, I have to do everything myself. And, and because we are artists, you know, and we do want to focus on the art. Like it's not usual for an artist to also have like big business acumen, you know? And so to have those skills and to have somebody or, you know, companies that come up and kind of coach artists and help artists along is amazing. So are you thinking about like starting a company or to do that, or
I'm not sure. Right now it's sort of like the beginnings of a guidebook.
Cool.
And then we'll see. Maybe I would sort of launch that, or maybe I would work with a company that manages artists for a little while and just get some more experience. But how have you found, like, in terms of with all the different things that you do, having to manage it all on your own, do you feel like that side of it comes naturally to you, or that's been a struggle?
For me personally, it kind of, it's a little bit easier, because I do have like business background, and I've worked, I did business development for a construction company, and
that's right.
And I've worked for real estate companies, and so I do know the business. I know how to start companies. I know how to dissolve companies. I know how to do all of that. Which is like rare for an artist or like a creative person to also have those skills. But the problem for me is that I'm only one person. So it's like I can't, or I could if I really pushed myself, but being able to, like, having the freedom to be able to create without having to worry about the business is ideal,
Right.
So I'm so excited to learn more about what, you're planning to do with this. As it grows and develops and stuff.
Yeah, I think first and foremost, the most important thing is education, because a lot of times if you go to a school to study your craft, they might have one class on some basic business knowledge, and that's about it. And I think it's really important for artists to figure out how to get some like passive income streams, and that they don't have to constantly be tending to. And then also just like kind of think outside the box of other ways that they can monetize.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm excited about it because it seems like something that's needed, and but at the same time it's been difficult in the program because there's not a lot of research. It's hard to write research papers about it, so it feels sort of like uncharted territory, which is exciting, but it's a little bit complicated in terms of, in my program, they're a lot more focused on organizational management and and sort of like human resources and cross-cultural management, which is great. And I love all of that too. And sustainability is another big topic. So I sort of feel like I'm getting pulled towards those topics just because that's the focus of this particular program. So I have to kind of make a decision. Do I want to continue down both paths at the same time, or do I want to stick with one or the other and kind of forge my own path?
So sustainability, like what would that be?
Yeah, so that would be like for example, like take Coca-Cola, and we're looking at their supply chain. We're looking at how sustainable is the supply chain. Are they polluting? Are they using unethical labor? Are they just all of the things that how are they treating their employees, their factory workers? Those things like all kind of fall under the sustainability umbrella, even more than it's not just environmental.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was because my thought was sustainability, environmental, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow, so you just are kind of like, I don't know what I want to do.
Yeah, so it just kind of feels exciting. I just love learning, and I'm just always like a curious kind of person, and just I like learning about a lot of different things, and so it's fun, and I'm enjoying my classmates and professors, and so
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So May, May you're gonna graduate.
Yeah,
and you're gonna be a full-on business lady with your briefcase and maybe your stuffed animals, like carry them around with you. Well, that's so cool. Yeah. So like so your husband has been doing music since, I don't know, before you guys even got married, right?
Right, that's right.
So like how watching it from the other side, right? Obviously, because as an artist, we're focused on what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
We're, whatever artistic field that we're in.
Yeah.
And, the people around us, like it's always so amazing to have people that support us. Like my husband is so supportive of me. And I've watched over the years, you're so supportive of Pierce. And
Thank you.
It's like, and so it's like, how has that journey been for you? And like, what have you learned? And what do you think?
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where I've always just really believed in his abilities and talents, and he is really, really good at sort of having an idea in his head and bringing it to life. And that is just a joy for me to witness. And, when we got engaged, a lot of people said, like, older people in my life would say, are you sure you want to marry a musician? That seems like kind of like an unstable job. It seems like sort of risky, and you don't have health insurance, and, and it was never even a question for me because I really believed in him and still do. So it's been fun, he has had a lot of different iterations of his career, and it has been like, first when I met him, he's with another person that we went to high school with, in a duo group together, and then he transitioned to be in a jazz band, and now he's doing children's music, and it just all kind of feels like he's exactly where he's supposed to be.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously, like, the creative path is always evolving, evolving, and so yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to for you to watch that, because I mean, I've seen it obviously, with his work and stuff, and but you're in there, you're like in the mud, right. Like as it's happening and as it's growing. And so,
I think one of the most important things for any type of marriage is, like, you have to leave space for the other person to evolve, and you're gonna evolve, they're gonna evolve. You have to just make sure that you're doing that together and as individuals, and I think you have to just enjoy the ride and just let the person live their own journey. You know?
Totally. Because I mean, that's life, right?
Yeah.
We're all on our own creative path, and I had kind of touched on this in episode 1 of this podcast, and I was saying that we each carry this creative spark from the beyond, like whatever the place was that we were before we incarnated here, and like I personally believe that every single person on earth has something to bring creatively and artistically to the world. And that could be in the form of business, that could be in the form of art, that could be in the form of music, or science, or whatever it is, engineering. It doesn't matter. Like, we're all contributing together. And in order for us to grow collectively as a society, like, we have to allow for that individual growth, and we also have to like curate that community growth.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could not agree more. And I think, like you said, like, I think we all have any type of creation is art. And so, I think about art as parenting too.
Yeah, totally.
As an art form, and where you have to be creative, you have to improvise, you have to think outside the box sometimes, you have to be visionary, and so that's how I tried. I'm definitely inspired by my husband in that regard, but that's how we try to parent. And so that's also quite the journey.
Because I mean, I'm kind of a little bit in that, I'm a stepmom, so it's like I get to watch and be a part of that from like obviously I'm in it, and but it's a unique experience being a stepmother, because I do feel like a mother, and I am very protective, and I still have to come up with things to do, and like creative ways to do this and that. And so you're right, it definitely is an art form. And I never really thought about it like that, because you do have to improvise a lot. You gotta find stuff to keep them busy.
That's true. You have to think on your toes. You have to like
know how to answer questions that they ask. You're like, I don't think I should tell you the real answer, but I need to tell you an answer. I need to, whatever it is. But
how old is your stepson?
He's 5.
5, okay.
And so he's at that stage where he's just starting to notice and pay attention to his surroundings. Like because what I've noticed, what I've observed over the years, because I was a nanny for a long time, and I've been around kids. I've been babysitting literally since I was like 10 years old. So
and your niece,
and my niece, and so my niece is 8, and so I've been around a lot of kids, and I've like watched them and observed them. And what I notice about kids is that the first maybe 4 years of their life, it's the world is about them. Like they don't realize that other people in the world exist.
Yes.
They're just like me.
Yes.
And then when they hit around the age of 5, they start to really understand that they're not the only person in their universe. And then they are like a sponge and they're just absorbing everything. And they're watching your interactions. They're watching how you had that conversation. They're watching how you responded to that. They're watching your body language. Yep. And it's funny because I'm watching him watch me, and I'm like, are you observing me? Because I'm observing you.
Right.
And so it's like, it's interesting, watching kids grow. And you've done it twice,
I've done it twice. Yeah. And they're great little mirrors because they'll repeat back exactly, what you've said, the way you said it, your tone, everything. So it's a great reminder to just always be your best self as much as possible. And we were lucky that our kids went to this really incredible preschool, and it was a co-op. It's really small. It's only 12 kids. Oh, wow. And it's multi-age. So it's 2 to 5. And it's in the back and bottom of a woman's home. And she's the teacher, and it is her life's passion. And there was a lot of focus on the outdoors and also on nonviolent communication. So they did a lot of, I don't know if you're familiar with Imago, where you'd say when you say this, it makes me feel like.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So they did their own version of that, and just learning how to be community members as little kids. And you wouldn't think that, or at the time, I wasn't even aware that kids could have this level of depth of conversation with each other and understanding of the world and understanding of social interactions, but they all did. And
wow.
Yeah, it was incredible.
That's amazing. My niece went to Montessori, and it's similar.
Yeah.
Where they don't have that classroom structure.
Yeah.
Well, right now she's homeschooled, but when she was in Montessori, they just let the kids explore, and they had little creation stations, so they could just work with their hands and make things, and it wasn't so rigid and you have to sit at a desk and you have to learn this, and now on the one hand, I do understand the sitting at the desk aspect and learning, but at the same time, I don't think that's the best way to learn, because it's it doesn't. I just remember from my own personal experience, in school, the teacher was always on my report card, it was always Nicole talks too much in class. Nicole's always communicating Nicole's always talking to her friends. Nicole's always asking questions. Right. And it's because I sitting and still for too long, I mean, I can do it obviously, but
sure.
I just wanted to be hanging out and having fun and talking and exploring.
Of course.
And I almost wish I had that sort of, experience when I was maybe in elementary and middle school. I wish I'd had that experience outside of the desk, the classroom setting, versus having that experience. But at the same time, being in I don't know, it's a catch-22, you know, obviously the education system is changing, the way we are teaching our children is changing, because we're realizing we can't be so rigid about things, so I don't know, we'll see how everything works, but it sounds like the kids that are coming up now that are having a more interactive classroom setting versus the standardized classroom setting are more compassionate and empathic.
I think that's an amazing point. Yeah, I would agree with that. Our kids went to a project-based learning school for most of elementary, and that was really another very cool way to learn, where they just build in the curriculum into a project, and then at the end of each project they do a big presentation. And so for example, they would be if you need to learn how to measure, they would do a unit on fire trucks, and they would measure the fire truck, and something like that. So I just being giving space for different types of learning, I think, is crucial.
Totally. Yeah. Do you think that the way your kids learned has sort of fostered their creative spirit more?
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially having a creative dad, and watching you create things for them,
Yeah, I think they've definitely been influenced by our family, and also just innately are both very creative. Justice they're both really wonderful singers. And Justice is a really great visual artist, and Stella loves to create just about anything. She's a great writer. And she likes acting, and
yeah, she does. She's always like performing on like the little TikToks with like her and Pierce.
Yeah, she's the one who likes the attention. And on stage.
Totally can tell that.
Yeah,
totally. That's good though. Yeah. I mean, like, because I feel like when you're around those like creative energy, it like makes you more creative, and that's what we need in the world, you know, and. Like, we need more artists, and we need more people tapping into their creativity.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
That's like so fun.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, so obviously those are like the ups. Have there been any like struggles with having like an artistic like partner?
Struggles. I would say
like in the sense of like I mean, I don't know, because as a writer, like, you might experience creative block and that can get frustrating. And like, I personally have, like, I like to get out in my garden if I get frustrated, but you know, obviously my husband knows if I'm feeling like challenged in any sort of like artistic front, and he kind of like lets me have my space. And I mean, do you have you experienced anything where like you've been like, I don't know, it's different for everybody.
Sure. Pierce is like the world's most positive person. So
good.
He knows how to find the silver lining in absolutely anything. And he's really good at, he has his things that he journals, and he'll go to the river, and he has his ways, to get back on track when he's feeling off. But I would say the hardest part has been more like, practical in the sense of he travels a lot.
Right. Yeah.
So especially when the kids were little, he was traveling a great deal. He would be gone for weeks sometimes.
Wow. Like on tour and stuff.
Yeah. So he was doing this particular project where they would bring beat making equipment to different communities and teach them how to use it, and they would stay for maybe like a month sometimes.
Oh wow.
Or a couple of weeks, and so. And we had 2 little kids at that time who were close in age, and so that was a lot. That was probably the most challenging piece, just him being gone a lot. But I also have my parents as an example in that way. My dad traveled a lot, and my mom was able to manage, and so I'm lucky to have that example.
So like, how did you did you ever go visit or take the kids with you, or was it just like you were here? And how did you manage that?
Yeah, I'm lucky to have a lot of supportive family.
Oh yeah, family. That's
nearby,
right.
And that was really the only way to get through it. At the time, we lived like just a block from my parents, and so my mom was, helping daily and in the trenches with me. So.
And then you would just like FaceTime or like Zoom call or whatever.
Yeah, we would.
I don't think Zoom existed back then, but yeah.
Yeah, we did the little. I guess it was, what's it called on the Mac? Just the, I forget what it's called on photo booth.
Thing. Oh, okay, cool.
Whatever.
I've never used that. I don't even know half of those apps. Like, when Pierce was like, use GarageBand, I was like, yeah.
Right.
I don't even know half the apps on the computer, but yeah, photo booth.
Yeah, there was one, I don't think it's called that, but there was one that was at the time that we used, like a really basic, and just, call when you can. And even when you're in different time zones, you just kind of have to plan ahead. And so that was probably the hardest part. And then sort of like the uncertainty, especially when he would switch from one thing to another. Maybe one thing would be closing down and he'd be, dreaming up a new project. And so that kind of feels like a little bit nervous, but it's always more exciting than nervous to me. I love change. And so, I'm always excited for a new project and, to take on a new challenge.
Yeah. You're a
Virgo.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I see the briefcase. Now I see why. Virgo. That totally makes sense.
Yeah. Beyonce and I share a birthday.
Okay. There you go. That's awesome. So Pierce ran for
for mayor.
Mayor?
Yeah, and then state senate.
And so like, how is that process? And
Yeah.
As a wife, you know.
Yeah.
I saw it as a constituent, you know.
Sure. Yeah. That was hard. That was really hard. It was a big shift from the more creative path to public service, and that, you know, it is such a rich environment in terms of it's a great path if you want to help a large number of people. But at the same time, it is complicated and messy, and, you know, the interpersonal dynamics are,
the politics
of it, is very complicated. And so, you know, that I was sort of more on the sidelines and during that whole process. But he had a great campaign manager, and he had a lot of great volunteers and people ready to help, and a lot of people who supported him and believed in him. And when I first met him, he told me, I'm going to be mayor of Durham one day.
Wow.
And I said, okay. And
so he's on the path.
So, well, he did not become mayor. He lost that election, but then became a city council person. So he was on city council, and I think he sort of feels like he fulfilled that goal through that. And now I don't see him going back to politics.
Oh wow.
Because I think he's just really squarely doing what he's meant to be doing right now. But you never know.
I know. I mean, that is such an interesting, because I remember like when you had told me that he was running for mayor, and I was like, oh, I could see it, obviously, you know, because his dad was like very influential in the community. And stuff, but I was like, oh, that's interesting. And I was like, that would be actually really awesome to have like a really creative person in a position, like a local political position, you know? Because we need more voices to advocate for the creative community.
Absolutely.
You know? And that's probably what inspired him also to want to do something like that, right? I'll ask him, obviously, but he would be able to speak more to that. But I do think that he felt like he had a unique voice in that he came from a creative background and not a political background per se, even though he's been heavily involved in politics in all sorts of ways his whole life. But do you see yourself getting into politics or anything?
I don't. I don't like, I'm not like a front of stage kind of person. And I'm also like, just the dealings like with people kind of just turn me off from the whole thing. But so no, that's not for me. What about you? Would you?
You know, when I was younger, I think I wanted to be president of the country. Like for real, I think I wanted to be president of America. And I was like, I could run this better than the people who are running it. And I mean, it's to some degree, I do feel like I could make a lot of changes, you know, but I don't, it's a messy, like you said, it's a messy world.
It's super messy.
And when I was doing business development for the construction company, I went to a lot of the governor's mansion, went to a lot of those like kind of politicking, because we worked a lot with the Department of Transportation.
Okay.
And so we wanted to kind of leverage those connections to get more work. And so I was the person that had to go to all of the like little events that they were having at the, you know, with the governor and with this person and that person,
like a networking
events, and they were really cool. I mean, we got to be around all the people. Like I got to be around like most of the NC State legislators and all the people and the senators, the North Carolina senators and stuff like that. So I got to be around some pretty influential people, and they know me and I know them. And, you know, I've had a lot of meetings with them, had to coordinate a lot of meetings with them. But what I observed in that process is the people, it's like crabs in a barrel. It's not as much as they say they care about the community, they care about themselves, and they care about them being on top. And I remember one particular event, which actually took place at the governor's mansion. I was speaking to one lady, and she was running for mayor in her town. and another guy who was also running for mayor in that town. I don't know which, it was like a city outside of Raleigh, but everyone kind of came to the governor's mansion in Raleigh to like have this networking thing. And I was literally talking to her, and I finished talking to her. I was talking to her, and then he came up and just completely interrupted, handed me his business card, and started talking, and started like doing his pitch to me. And I'm like, I can't help you. In my head, I'm like, I can't help you. I'm like, why are you guys pitching me? I guess they figured I was somebody important because I was at this event. Yeah. But I'm like, I just noticed it was like they just didn't care. They were just like all, and I don't like that environment. Right. I like the environment where, you know, because on set, you know, you're working with all these different people, and you have to listen, you have to collaborate together, and then it's totally different than being there, where people are just like, get out, elbowing you, get out of my way, I gotta get to the front, hear my pitch, hear this, you know, like, vote for me, here's my card, and I'm like, you know, so that's the side that I don't like. But I do like the side of, as far as like, you know, some sort of government or whatever. Yeah. I do like the ability to make change. Yeah. And that's probably what it was for Pierce too. Like absolutely. The ability to change and influence. Yeah. Yeah. You know, because we gotta do a lot of reform around here, you know, and it's happening slowly. Yeah. But it's like, it's still, I feel like it's at that high level, it's still that same corruption, and we're just sort of putting a Band-Aid over it, and we just need to just be like, let's scrap the whole thing and start over, you know, like start fresh. Yeah. I mean, I would be down for like a matriarchal kind of society. What about you? What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
I don't know. I feel like we need to try something different, you know? Yeah. Because, I don't know, but, yeah.
Well, are you coming up on a year of marriage right now?
I am. Yeah. Okay. October 31st.
Okay, October. Year. Okay. Yeah. How's it been?
It's been fun. Yeah. It's been good. You know, because I've known James for 20 years now. Like we've been friends since we were 21 years.
Wow. Wow.
And so we've just been friends for a really long time. Yeah. And so that was really helpful. Yeah. You know, and like us getting together. I already knew his family, he already knew my family. And it just was like a natural kind of transition. And then I was just like, just fell in love with the whole idea. And I still like love that, you know, and it's good. And obviously I've gotten to watch, you know, you and Pierce, you know, do this. And I've gotten to watch a lot of my other friends be married and do the family thing for like a long time. So you guys are my inspiration. I look to all my friends who've done this before. Yeah. And I say, okay, they've made it work. They've made it last through all the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, the fails, the success. Yeah. You know, and it's like it's cool. It kind of gives me that sense of like security. Yeah. Having people around me that are doing it too, you know?
Yeah, I think that really matters. Having examples, people to look to, just other people also, you know, in it with you. Yeah. You know, and we're all basically going through the same thing. I know. You know, it's so similar when you actually talk to people. Sometimes you can feel alone or like you're the only person going through something, and then everybody's going through it too. So, you know, I think that's important to just talk and learn from other people. And we have been...
How long have you guys been married?
15 years.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Did you guys ever renew your vows or anything?
We haven't yet. I could see us doing that at some point. Maybe 20.
Maybe 20?
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of 20, are you going to the 20-year high school?
Probably.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Okay. And then I'm gonna go too, because that's what I talked about with Samantha also. Okay. We were like, we're gonna go, let's test around. I talked about that with Mary and a couple other people also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, how's Mary?
She's good. Yeah. Good. But yeah, so that would be really fun to see everyone.
It would be fun. I mean, I feel like I see people, you know, just as a parent, and there are a lot of people, you know, we had kids on the young side, so there are a lot of people our age who have little kids now.
Do you think Justice will go to UNC?
I could see that. Yeah,
because he would be a legacy kid.
Yeah,
because Pierce went to UNC too, right?
We both went. Yeah, we both went there. Justice is looking at state too. He because of more of the digital art.
And, that would be great, because state has a really great engineering like school.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something he would want to get into, but
yeah, and
like I'm sure they would have. They probably already do have like digital engineering and digital AI and like AI type classes and stuff.
I'm
will
sure
eventually come about by the time he's there.
Yeah, which
or is ready for school. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see. I mean, it would be fun if they stay close, but I'm also fine if they want to, explore and maybe take a gap year or whatever, or go somewhere else for college.
So you're like a cool parent.
I hope we're gonna be. I mean, maybe it'll feel different once. Like Justice just did driver's ed this week, and that's scary. It feels like scary, but also like I'm happy for them to be like launched into the world. So.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
you created them.
Yeah,
and now they're like off. I remember holding him when he was a baby, and I mean, I feel like every person eventually says that. Like, I held you when you were a kid,
right?
When you were just a babe, you were in my arms,
right?
But like, and I think I actually said that to Justin, to Justice, or to Stella. I said it to one of them, and they were like, "Oh." And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like that.
You're
that lady.
Old lady
I'm like
now.
that old lady. Because plenty of people have said that to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me now.
Right. It's so funny. I'm always like, oh my gosh, you're so tall now. I'm like, wow.
Wow. I mean, life is so crazy and it's amazing. And I mean, it's so good hearing like from your perspective, because having a creative partner and just being in a creative around all these creative, because it's not just Pierce, it's his sister, it's his mom, it's his dad was creative in the sense of engineering.
Absolutely. He was an architect and that's very creative. So it's been good, and it's also fun because Pierce is like also the best cheerleader. Like he's so supportive, and just whatever idea I have, he's right behind me, and so that's been really wonderful.
Yeah, that's so amazing. Well, I'm so glad you were on you came on my podcast, and I'm so glad we were able to have this conversation. And I mean, I look forward to hearing more about business school as it gets going and stuff like that, and or as you graduate and you get into whatever field you decide to go into, right? And we'll definitely chat about that like another time. And
sounds good.
But I'm so happy you came on.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you for listening. Please check out my website. It's nicole-burgess.com, and I have links to my books and to my jewelry and lots of other affiliate links. And please check out Katie's information as well. Do you have a website or any socials?
I don't have anything like that.
You don't have anyone? Okay, that's fine. So, I'll keep you updated on what Katie's got going on. I'll have her on my podcast again. And so once again, thank you. And thank you for listening, and thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.